25th, 2022. Roll call, please, Pat.
Donnie Greenway,
Here.
David Weaver,
Here.
John Hurd,
Here.
Riley Hartwell.
Here.
Derek Gander. And Brett Jordan,
Present.
Jeff Hope.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. Y'all please stand if you can, and we'll do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up, I want to ask if there are any changes necessary for the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
All right, motion by Rodney, second by Donnie. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Derek?
Agenda? Yeah.
Yes, all right, that motion passes, thank you. All right, first up, we got some celebrations. So I'll just let everybody know, we've got Brent and Derek that are at the Joplin Eagles soccer game in Branson. So trying to take care of representing our school while representing our school. So thank you guys for being in attendance, I appreciate that. So first up, we got a few celebrations. All right, you guys are getting one heck of an education here. Governor Mike Parsons visited Franklin Technology Center in early October as part of his workforce development tour. The governor visited classrooms and interacted with over 50 students at FTC. In the comments after the tour, the governor noted that his administration has made the largest investment in Missouri state history for workforce development and on training centers. He concluded, "I've been to a lot of schools, but I haven't been in one any better than this one." Very nice. Next up, Homecoming 2022. Joplin Eagles enjoyed Homecoming 2022 festivities with a week-long celebration of Spirit Day activities, homecoming parade, football game, and a dance. Joplin Schools School Resource Officer Rick Hershey was selected as the Grand Marshal of this year's parade, which included 25 entries from Joplin Schools athletic and extracurricular groups. Excitement, Eagle pride, and community spirit were on the march at this year's homecoming parade. A great outing. And then the regional excellence. So Joplin Schools representatives attended the JETHD Teacher of the Year banquet in Jefferson City to support and celebrate Julie Pagan, Soaring Heights Special Education teacher. Mrs. Pagan was honored as the 2022 Regional Teacher of the Year. Very nice. And we now have some true Hall of Famers. The Joplin Schools Foundation hosted its inaugural Hall of Fame banquet and induction ceremony for this year's class of esteemed alumni. Catherine Brown, 1972 Memorial graduate, a renowned anthropologist. Emerson Polkey, 1947 Joplin graduate, leading Braille researcher. Jim Goodnight, 1962 Joplin graduate, innovative industry leader. Henry Robertson, 1947 Joplin graduate, business leader. Mary Curtis Chenoweth Wharton, 1933 Joplin graduate, writer and actress. The foundation also honored Melissa Fuel-Kuther with its first meritorious award to recognize a community member who did not attend Joplin schools but made contributions to local education. Ms. Kuther led efforts to establish the first preschool for African American students in Joplin. The Hall of Fame ball is located in Joplin High School's Performing Arts Center, and there's about a 3 to 5 minute video of each one of their accomplishments on the website linked to Joplin Schools. Fantastic. Next up, Joplin High School speech and debate student Jenna Compton has reached premier distinction in the National Forensic League, placing her in the top 3% of the NSDA competitors nationwide. Congratulations, Jenna. And then a fast-paced farce. Joplin High School theater students did an expert job of delighting and entertaining audiences with the comedy Noise Is Off. The play takes a fond look at the follies of theater folk dealing with out-of-control egos, memory loss, and romance. This play within a play captures a theater troupe's production in 3 stages: the dress rehearsal, the opening performance, and the performance toward the end of an exhausting run. And those are our celebrations. So next up, the Board Safety and Security Committee report. Donnie, can you share?
Sure. We met a few weeks ago and discussed the new camera system we put in the high school. The board approved that this summer and how that has played out and is working. We also reviewed the district security plans, especially the plan development for Dover Hill and how that is coming along. And we also touched on the crosswalk there at 20th Street on the safety side of it.
Fantastic. And then the Board Finance Committee, David, could you share?
Yes, we met about a couple of weeks ago also and took a look at the district finances, particularly our debt structure. There is a possibility that refinancing bonds might be in our interest. And so with the tax deductible bonds that we're eligible, we're looking at the feasibility of that also. We looked at some budget adjustments. When we set the budget at the beginning of the year, that's a roadmap and an educated guess. And as we move through the year, we adjust it periodically. So those will be later in the meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you both. All right, we're up. Superintendent's data report.
Okay, a couple things before we get going. Board members, I'd like to call your attention to Missouri Southern's talent search information that you have in front of you. Annually, we get this information, and the folks at Talent Search, Jim Kimbrough, director, former board member, and employee in Joplin Schools for a long time, has been involved with that for quite some time at Missouri Southern. So this gives our students, especially first-time students to college, an opportunity and a connection to really talk about possibilities of going on to university or into the college life. So that we're really appreciative for that. That helps a lot of students, especially students who may not have somebody in their family who have ever attended college before. So that's a big help. And then the next thing I want to talk about just quickly is just pass out these certificates of achievement to David Weaver and Donnie Greenlee for completing their annual training from Missouri School Boards Association. So we appreciate that. So I have these right here.
For those that don't know, that's a grueling 19 hours plus of online and in-person training. So it's no small feat to get that accomplished and then getting it accomplished before the end of the year. We've got 12 months, but they hopped on it quickly to get up to speed. So congratulations.
Very good. I appreciate that. The training is necessary and important to keep us running smoothly. So thank you all board members for that. All right. Construction update. Crossland Construction is here. Aaron is here to give us a little bit of information about what's happened since last month at Dover Hill.
A lot has happened. Okay, good evening, guys. Okay, lots to report tonight. Asphalt and turf installation has started officially. Asphalt guys have moved in their graders and their rollers. They're starting to prepare. They moved it in late last week, obviously with the rain, and it's been a long time since we've said that. But with the rain, it's kind of delayed that a little bit. Turf as well. They worked this weekend trying to beat a lot of the rain. I was out there this afternoon and they have started the actual turf install. So it's starting to have some color on the side. Monument signage installation, that has started. So that will be commenced here and completing probably towards the middle part of next month. Brick gear cleaning, brick has completed the install. They're just washing and putting metal panel installation. We've got another 2, maybe 1.5 to 3 weeks of trimming out, making sure it's all buttoned up. The red panels have not quite started yet. They're going to save that towards the end for that pop of color. Interior finishes, man, it's looking awesome. I just walked the job. We've got so much going on the inside. Starting down by the kitchen, of course, all the kitchen area is rocking and rolling. The gym, wood floor has been sanded. They're starting to put the seal coats on. They haven't started any kind of striping yet. That next count. As you move further towards the office area, the wooden eagle door on the wall, that's started. Looks great so far. We've got on the media center, of course, that's all in rocking and rolling in that area. Nanowall should start towards the middle to end of this week. That's probably, and that's the big glass walls that separate the media center from the other areas. And then moving forward, carpeting, you've got all kinds of millwork in Area B, just looking great. Punch list. We're going to start punch list next week. Where that goes. And it's going to be basically the month of November is going to be punch list month. So we've got some photos for you. We've got color, lots of color. So we talked in previous board meetings about every wing kind of has its own color scheme. So here you can obviously see a little bit purple. This is the decorative ceiling elements, not only on the second floor area overlooking the media center, but also on the lower level below that, the media center and the learning park. Get some more color. The decorative lighting up the main staircase. Pretty cool. To the right is where the nano wall is going to go in the media center. Main stair element. We're going to save those panels. It actually gets some metal panels along the stair railing going up the stair. We're going to save that until the end. They're very durable, but we don't want to chance them. So saving it to the end, construction workers can be very hard. You've already seen this, but at the bathrooms, we have the decorative tile on the walls. It looks awesome. Great job, Chad and team. Some more color. We got some orange. I believe that's on the second floor in Area B. You can kind of look through and see the gym. The big picture on the left is from the kitchen looking out towards the gym. It's the big rolling door kitchen area. That is one of the room music rooms, I believe. Band. The gym. That, when I took that picture, that was later last week. A lot has been completed since then. The floor looks, at that point in time, they were still standing. They've completed their sanding operation and now they're putting the finishing touches on it. Wood ceilings over to the right are going in, almost complete. Obviously, a lot of landscaping started, topsoil, top dressing. The picture at the right is the hillside looking down towards Murphy. That's a straw mat. The seat is under that, which the rain will help. Playground area. Of course, all the playground equipment has been installed. The fencing is in the process of being installed, as well as the turf. A lot has happened since that photo last Thursday. More areas in the back. That area that you see that's rocked off, that's exactly where the turf guys were working whenever I walked through this afternoon. The sidewalk area, that's another milestone we hit last Friday. We poured a huge sidewalk board in your front entry. So there's a lot of decorative elements, a lot of differing turning shapes, control joints, things like that at the front entry. So that was a big milestone for us. I believe it was, we started at 3:30 in the morning. And it was roughly 185 yards of sidewalk walk. Some more photos. Any questions for me? Final completion still touted for 12/16. Still right on track. Making good progress. Yeah.
How long did it take to put the basketball court down? That's a lot of handwork.
It depends, start to finish, or just putting the wood down.
The wood itself.
The wood itself is probably a week and a half or so. Really, the finishing part of the wood takes the longest.
Yeah, you sand it.
You sand it down, and then when you put the finish on, it's a finish that it makes you stay off for 7 days. And then after 7 days, they get foot traffic. They can't get any kind of equipment, scissor lift or anything like that on it for another 21 days. So a full month, they make you stay off of it. You better coordinate on the front end.
Furniture coming along well?
What's that?
Furniture all coming in on schedule?
It is a few extra trucks, but we hope they have spaces to line everything out and assemble it and get it in the rooms.
Looked like that one room just had the IKEA furniture in the middle of it in a square.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it to the center. It's really for punch lists.
Okay.
So the architects and design team can get around the exterior perimeter of the room. We can still get to it to address any issues.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you,
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Chad, too. Okay, every month we have a strategic focus that goes directly to our strategic plan, our comprehensive school improvement plan. Dr. Mwangi has the group from Royal Heights here with Dr. Colthorpe, and they're going to present.
Yes, so I'm not sure that I could find 3 more sweet, humble ladies accompanied by the most experienced principal. No,
The oldest.
the oldest. So I'm going to really kick it over to Dr. Colthorpe to introduce his team to you. But one of the areas that we have put a lot of energy when we think of our strategic plan is primary literacy. And so this is really just a highlight to make you aware, real-time work of what's happening with some of those action steps related to our plan.
The first time that I met with the faculty and staff at Royal Heights, we did a SWOT analysis, and each of the groups identified our work with students in the area of language arts as of the strength of our school. And as we broke it down as to why, part of it was this program, and the main part for us was the 3 individuals that are going to present tonight. Their credibility in the building started as classroom teachers, all 3 of them, and then moved into the Title I reading program. So the other teachers saw them in action with it, that they lived the literacy. And then when they work with students, and then when they also work with teachers, they live it. They are passionate about reading. This program is very structured. It's a program that we've had a great deal of success with. In my earlier life as a college president, I didn't teach a lot of people how to read. So these individuals had to start teaching me, showing me how to do it so that they can teach anybody. But we've had a great deal of success with it. You see their names up on the board there. Kate, Carmi, and Chelsea. And I need to set Chelsea's part up. There's a lot of individuals that are comfortable talking to students, but they're not comfortable talking to adults. And Chelsea told me that several times, that she's not comfortable talking to them.
Obviously too late.
Chelsea goes back, she was one of my prize students at Missouri Southern, did a great job. I've seen her in that role. I've seen her as a classroom teacher now in Title I, and I've seen her get nervous talking to adults. So I would ask you to put her at ease when it's her time to talk. You could be a kindergarten classroom. If someone could just yell out what they're going to be for Halloween. Someone else could yell out what candy they like. And then someone could throw up on their table. She'll feel comfortable. So, with that, I'll turn it over to our Title I reading.
Well, thank you very much for letting us come and share something that really is our passion. We do love what we do every day. We work with students kindergarten through 5th grade, and we see about 13-ish groups every day. So we are Title I teachers, and we work with the small groups of students every day. We provide them interventions based on students that fall in the 30th percentile or below on their DIBELS testing or their NWEA assessments. And so we work with students about 3 or 4 at a time for 20 to 30 minutes each time that we see a group of students. So you might be wondering, how did we get started and where did our journey begin? Well, Joplin Schools provided teachers with LETRS training back in 2019, and LETRS stands for Language Essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. The training shared information from the science of reading research, and the more I got into it, the more fascinated I was. The brain knowledge and how the brain learns to read is just, it's extremely interesting. So I have loved all of that. That training was kind of our why, but we didn't really know how to put it into the classroom. So we found 95% group curriculum, and that has been how we can share what we've learned with our students. So we found 95% group. It's an explicit systematic curriculum. Of course, we want to reach 100% of our students, but the program is called 95%. Because 95% of our students should be able to read at grade level if they're receiving classroom instruction and intervention help. The remaining 5% are probably our students that have some learning disabilities or deficits and may require some more explicit instruction or repetitious instruction. So we begin teaching the students with phonological awareness, and their gaps in their learning close. Then we move on to decoding words, and then we move even into multisyllabic words as they get into 3rd grade and above. And as we've said, the program is very systematic, it's very explicit, it's very sequential. It allows students to really focus on the learning, and then they don't have to worry about what's coming up next. They can really focus on what's right there in front of them at the time. The skills in the program follow a great sequence that is research-based from the science of reading. So during our lessons, we model first, and then we work with the students. So together we work on the skill, and then we release control to the students where they are able to complete the skills on their own.
So the next couple of slides, we're going to look at our 95% continuum. And so this is the kindergarten level. We gave you all a copy of it so you could kind of see it's kind of hard to read up on the screen. But our kindergartners are expected to make it through this scope and sequence. And so they start with the phonological awareness, which is the oral component of our program. They have to be able to hear how words are broken into smaller and smaller parts, all the way down to like a single speech sound, which is when they start learning their alphabet. So they start with like compound words and work all the way through. And so they start with bigger words all the way down to letters and sounds. And then they have to be able to manipulate those sounds to make new words. Once they have moved through that in kindergarten, then they move on to phonics. So developmentally, they're ready to learn their alphabet. They're going to learn how to blend sounds together to start reading simple CVC words. You can see the indicators listed on the screen, kind of where they're expected to be by grade level. And then by 4th and 5th grades, they should be ready to take a dive into vocabulary and comprehension. So this quote, there is no comprehension strategy powerful enough to compensate for the fact that you can't read the words, and that's by Anita Archer. And we love this quote because previously we kind of just, I was a 2nd grade teacher. I thought kids that had phonics exposure and then, they might struggle a little bit, but we kind of trudge along and move on with comprehension skills. But through LETRS, we learned, along with our colleagues, that moving on and not teaching kiddos to decode the words doesn't ever really teach a kiddo to read, and that when you know better, you do better. All right, this next part is Scarborough's rope. And Scarborough's rope is not necessarily a piece of 95%, but it was used in the science behind the program, along with many other graphics that are important in our reading field. We included it because it shows the parts and pieces of reading and a brief glimpse of how there's a lot of parts and they all have to be working together in order for skilled reading to be executed. Teaching the kiddos, 95% is mainly that bottom portion of Scarborough's rope, which is word recognition. And by teaching them those skills, you're clearing their desk space. So you think of a teacher's desk by the end of the day is cluttered with all kinds of things. By teaching kiddos word recognition, their desk space is clear. So then they're able to work on the top portions of the rope where they kind of get more familiar with into 4th and 5th grade. And students have to learn to read before they can read to learn. And 95% group does a fantastic job of covering that bottom portion of the rope.
So now's a good time to start shouting out, like, what are you going to be for Halloween? What's your favorite candy? But on a serious note, we have a couple of data points to share with you. As a building in 2021, we had 236 students enrolled at Royal Heights. 92 of those students were in the at-risk category after completing DIBELS and NWA testing. That was 39% of our building, and that's kind of hard to see right now, I'm sorry. We pulled those students in intervention throughout the year, and by the end of the year, we had 40 of those students who were no longer considered at risk. This brought our 39% to the 22% that you see. So BOY means beginning of the year was the 39%, and then the end of the year was 22%, which is a pretty good jump. Another data point, last year as title teachers, we worked with first grade classroom teachers to increase reading scores in our building. We used the 95% curriculum in our small group intervention time, while the first grade teachers also use the program in their small groups. The data shown here is taken from one portion of the DIBELS test. Phoneme segmentation is the indicator the district uses for first grade to see if the students are in the at-risk category. In the fall of 21, only 38%, that's the green part to the left, of the students were proficient on phoneme segmentation. And by the end of the year, looking at the right, 91% of our first grade students were proficient at phoneme segmentation. Furthermore, if you look at that red little piece right there, only 3% of those students were considered at risk at the end of first grade. So how are we using 95% in the classroom? Along with first grade, last year a handful of our other teachers started using 95% intervention materials in the classroom in their small groups, and of course we've been using it too, and continue using it this year. Kindergarten has realized for a few years now that they were needing a curriculum with a strong foundation in phonological awareness and phonics. And thankfully, kindergarten was able to get the 95% core program recently, and they started implementing it in their classrooms. I'm kind of passionate about it. Kindergarten is kind of in my blood, it's where I started. And I actually taught a couple of those lessons, and I'm loving it. I'm a huge fan, and it fits all those pieces that we've been missing. And I really can't wait to see the growth in kindergarten as a whole in the district. So what's the main message? Using this systematic, explicit approach to teaching is helping our students learn to read. We are excited to see the future growth as we continue using the 95% curriculum in the classroom and our Title I intervention groups. We appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us share our 95%. I'm sure you have lots of questions, but I'm going to turn it to Sky if you have any questions, because we know a lot.
Well, I will just add on to what they've shared. We start at the intervention level, and what we're moving into is intervention is helping close the gap, but how do we start hitting core harder in what we're doing so we don't have to send as many to intervention? And so that's where kindergarten core came into play this year. So we're slowly moving that needle. I think their data shifts are a great testament and where we're moving forward. I always tell our teams, if we see giant leaps, we're probably doing something wrong. But if we see a steady trend that this data starts shifting, then we know that we're making appropriate progress as we move through. And We know we have, that 5%, but 95% is a new mentality when we think of what we're trying to do with students to move them along the continuum. So they do a
One thing
fabulous job.
The board may be interested in, I know you hear from time to time reports about teacher ed programs and maybe the training that some teachers have coming into school districts nowadays. That's been a major challenge for all schools in the United States. This program is very structured, as we mentioned earlier, and so is our math curriculum. And that, I think, helps a great deal with our new teachers of guiding them through the curriculum. After they have some experience with it, they can add to it and build on it. But for those beginning teachers, it's a great way to start in a elementary class.
I think it's a great presentation. I mean, I totally agree with you. You have to learn read before you read to learn. And I believe there's got to be real positive carryover into all the other subjects when they have that core reading down. So I commend you and the team for the progress you made. That's fantastic. It's great.
Two quick questions, kind of related. So the layout that you've got here, is this the order in which you go through each of those? And so that's the first piece of it, which I figured it probably was. We have a lot of students that transfer in and among and around. So if someone starts the first 2 months at your school, they go to another school and they've already got those first skill sets done. And is letters at all of the elementary schools then?
Yes, and this would be your intervention continuum. So letters is really the PD, and we have facilitators. Kate is the facilitator for Rural Heights, so every building has at least one facilitator who's working through that PD with the staff.
You just call them Kates.
Kate.
Okay.
But then the 95% material is really the how. The knowledge is where we learned about Scarborough's rope, and we learned about how the brain works and things. And the 95% material, we're better consumers of material. Things get thrown at schools all the time. The letters professional development has given us a filter. When we started looking at decodable readers, we went through a lot of commercialized product. We're like, this isn't a decodable reader, because now we have that filter that we can use. And so with students who transfer schools to schools, before they had to email back and forth, and we're still working out these bugs with our new system, but now it's been really easy to, somebody leaves Rural Heights to go to Cecil Floyd, for example, they can say, hey, they're on 4.2, and that school has the same language. They find what group do they have that's a 4.2, and they pop them in that group and they can get going. So the time wasted has really drastically reduced. I don't know if you've had a student recently transfer that you could speak to that, but.
I had two at the beginning of the year, and so I reassessed them, but then I could go back and see, okay, was their progress gradual, or did they just get put into this group? So we could kind of see after we assessed them, they were there for, I don't know, sometimes more than one cycle, and we worry about those students. And I could tell, well, this might be a kiddo that needs to be in that same group multiple times. I don't know if you guys could have the same.
I think also a little bit outside of this, but if you go to the web page, you can also see the competencies for each grade level. And I think the common, can they get to the common assessments on there? The board?
Through the 95 link or the?
Through the curriculum link.
May not, that may be teacher access only.
So, but in that same line, as a student going from school to school, when the teachers, say first grade teachers, are doing the same common assessments, they're also looking at what time of the year they're doing that, what time of the year they're doing those competencies. And so that also ties into that. And first grade's a good example where kindergarten obviously is doing the readiness skills, and first grade is more into reading with it. they also developed a majority of those assessments. So it's teacher-owned, they feel strong about it, they share that, and each of those measures that competencies.
It sounds promising. I like to see 11 more years of data, so.
Yes, I concur.
Okay, 112.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for your, thank you for your work on this. I had the opportunity to be in the building a while ago and just appreciated the work you're doing there. And I would love to be at your building on Monday to see what Dr. Coltharp's going to be for Halloween. So
I'm going to be Eeyore.
all right.
Yeah, that's usually the way at the end of Halloween I feel. Plan ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Good work. Okay. The Shelley Show now.
Okay. On the health and dental fund this month, for the first 3 months, we spent $1,854,710.95. So that was about 25% of our total budget, which we were right in the fourth of the year. But we did receive another prescription rebate, the amount of $176,180 this month. And in the first 3 months of the year, we've received prescription rebates of over $337,000. So if we hadn't gotten that, our expenses would have been about $2.2 million. So
Why are we getting that rebate?
we get, as part of the health plan that, depending on different prescriptions that are out there, we get these rebates back. And I'm not really versed in all the health.
Is it a lagging quarter?
Yes, it is a lagging quarter, yes. And sometimes, I think the one that came in July, came at the very first of July. Normally, it probably would have come at the end of June, but it was a little late getting here. So I think we just got one this month, so normally it's the quarter, and I'm trying to think which one that was. Is that the second quarter or first quarter?
Is it on track the same trend as last year?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
But
not
it was new, the prescription plan last year in October is when we went to this new plan where we started getting the bigger rebates.
Gotcha.
So that is kind of a newer thing than what we used to see. So other than that, there's not any other significant changes. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Okay, and on the financial statements, September financials are pretty similar to the prior year. We did receive notification just this last week that our ESSER 3 reimbursement for the prior year expense was been approved, and that is $6,468,509. So that should be coming, I'm hopeful, within this next week. If not, hopefully the first part of November, we will receive that. And then we also have, the audit has been going on, and I'd like to commend Sarah Lopez on all the hard work she has done for the audit this year. A lot of pulling of information. It's been going well, and they're hoping to present November the audit report. So we've got a little bit of an issue right now with DESE. We've made a few changes to the ASBR, and DESE's got some issues, and we're not able to upload those changes, which then has an effect on some final expenditure reports for the early childhood and some other of the federal title programs. So kind of all that's in limbo right now, but hopefully we can get, DESE will get their system fixed and we'll be able to upload those. Are there any questions on the financials this month?
Well, if the interest rate's going up, I saw that it's 1.65 right now, but that's got to be up at least a point over last year, I would imagine. So you know the dollar amount differences over your back offhand.
The dollar amount that's invested?
Well, we have 1.65, so last year was probably less than a half.
Yes,
So what's
about
the-
3 point, it was 0.3 something.
Yeah, so you know what the dollar difference is year over year on how that it's paid to us as a benefit. It's a
Yes.
positive to us. I was just curious as to the dollar amount.
The dollar amount we are expecting in the budget revision, I have about 150,000 increase in interest revenue that I'm
Yeah.
projecting for this year.
And John, I'll point out on that page 3, I don't know if it's page 3 or you just always say it's page 3 when you fill out. They noted that final budget with the 2 asterisks, that it's not final until after the audit is approved. So once that is approved, asterisks will go away and the real firm number will be set there. So when people are comparing the end of last year on different reports, and the numbers are different, you'll either have the asterisks and say non-final or it will be final.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that was an addition that Michelle made. I appreciate that. All right. We will move on. Pat, are there any public comments? No public comments. All right. We're now to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for approving the consent.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, David. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Now we're to the regular agenda. Dr. Maloney.
Yes, so Jennifer is going to come join us. Jennifer Hancock is a counselor at Joplin High School. She's also our secondary counselor department head. And she's going to speak to us about the VU scholarships, and Dr. Saketa may have some things to add in at the end of that presentation as well.
I'm very excited to share with you a potential opportunity for Joplin schools and families of Joplin schools. You can read VU Scholarship's mission statement. Basically, they seek to make it very easy for students to see and understand what scholarship money they automatically qualify for when they are searching out colleges. We call those merit-based scholarships. And so the old way, as you'll see on the left, I call the academic model. And in my words, a student decides, usually at a very early age, if he or she is college bound or not. And then as they travel through junior high and high school, middle school and high school, they start thinking in their mind just vaguely about where they might go and what they might study. And then when they get to be a junior or senior, all the legwork begins. And they come see their counselor. We have many conversations about how to choose a college. And money always comes into the conversation. So they've decided whether or not they're going to be a college student. And then all the work begins. They must go to each school they'd like to consider and see how much merit-based scholarship money could come their way. And as you can imagine, that process is involved because you have to go seek out every individual school. And that takes a lot of time. The VU way, and I'm going to back up one step for just a second. This company is based out of Kansas City and started by a gentleman who works for the Shawnee Mission School District. And he saw that the athletic model for connecting athletes to scholarship money is in essence reversed from what I call the academic model. A student is recognized for his or her athletic talent, and that would be valuable to a school. And so a recruiter comes with scholarship in hand and says, I'd like to offer you X amount of dollars to come to Missouri Western. Would you consider coming to Missouri Western? And it is assumed that that offer is so enticing that that student will consider going to college. He makes them an offer that's very, very enticing. And so it works backwards. The money is offered first, then the consideration of the school, and the assumption is, of course, you'll come to college, right? If we offer you this much money. So the VU way is to take that academic model and present that to students. The benefit as an overall look for high schools is that it's an academic motivator. As you move through these steps, you're going to see that they seek to move students from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Maybe I would consider going to college. And then as that student goes to college, maybe he or she might consider going to a graduate school. And that trickles down and trickles back. When we have all these students going to college, that mindset begins to grow at Joplin High School. These kids are going to big schools and doing big things. And so when we get down into the details, if we choose to partner with this company, the students have two options. As you can see on the left, they can do individual business with this company. They can self-report. The service is available to students who have a minimum GPA of 2.5 and a minimum ACT score of 18. And what happens is the student sends their ACT score and their GPA to the company, and then the company would send them back a document that shows how much money they would qualify for at all these different schools. And I'll get to the different schools in just a moment. Another setup would be the parent opt-in that you'll see on the right. If we make this a building-wide initiative or a grade level initiative, and if we go through and we designate or we identify who would qualify based on that criteria that I mentioned earlier, and we allow those families to opt in, then the business gives us the ability to draft a batch document where I would compile all of those students' names that qualify and that have opted in. I send that report with all that data en masse to the company, and 24 hours later, they send out documents to all of those students that opted in with columns of, you qualified for this much money at Missouri Western, you qualify for this much money at Missouri Southern, you qualify for this much money at Oklahoma State. And furthermore, they also include what the total cost of tuition would be at those universities. You can see that $12,000 at Truman University is very different than $12,000 at the University of Arkansas. So the families and the students are able to see what proportion of that tuition is covered. So students can self-report, or we could choose to go with a bigger batch sent at one time. I could send it once or twice in the fall, and then I could send it, if we gathered more information in the spring, I could send it once or twice in the spring, or as often as needed. So here's what the process looks like in general. The parent and student set up an account through an app. Then the information is sent off and uploaded to the portal. And they're assuming that we would do that school-wide initiative and that I would send a big report to them. And as you'll see, within 24 hours, the awards are ready to be communicated with the student through the app. Or, they want us, when I visited with the representative, he said you could do a big assembly and you could get everybody together. You could add up all these amounts of money that kids qualified for, and you could pass out letters and make it a big to-do. But in today's world, they want to have it at their fingertips, and you can see a picture of what the app might look like. So there's the process horizontally, just a different version. Consent, we upload it, the information comes back, 24-hour turnover, and it's delivered to students. They want you to see, kind of if you would imagine a scale, how much value is heavy on the right side and how light the effort is on the left side. It takes less than 2 hours for this process to come together and look at all of the benefits on the right. And if we move on, this is their summary. You may be wondering, this costs absolutely nothing for high schools. The money from the business is generated from the universities. Any university, two-year school, trade school is welcome to partner with the company. If they take advantage of the basic package, the information is still matched to the student, and it's just presented with a white screen with black text. That's if the university pays the bare minimum or nothing at all. If the university buys their premium package, it says you've been matched with $24,000 to the University of Missouri, and you open up the University of Missouri and you get a person that's ready to chat with you from admissions, and you get a full color view on your computer screen, and you click in the middle, and it's going to take you on a 10-minute walk, virtual walk through the University of Missouri. And it's got an area where you can choose what kind of dorm you might want to stay in, and then it'll give you a virtual tour of that. It's very user-friendly, it's very colorful, it's very complex. That's what they're charging their money for, and that's where the money for the company comes from. And so, Eric, would you help me out here? Are you able to click on the participating colleges and universities? Thank you very much. I think it's going to open up something else.
Yeah.
And then if you'll,
Make it a little bigger.
There's a list, the list goes on the next page too.
You go up to the first one, I will attempt to read it if you like.
that would be great. Thank you so much.
Iowa, Mid-America, Nazarene University, Truman State, University of St. Mary, Drake, Baker University, Nebraska Wesleyan University, William Jewell. Next page. Fort Hays State, Donnelly College, Johnson County Community College, Benedictine College, Bethel College, Kansas National Guard, University of Central Missouri, Tabor College, Northwest Missouri State, Newman University, University of New Mexico, Rockhurst University, Washburn University, Heston College, Cleveland University in Kansas City, Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Emporia State, Ottawa University, University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma, Cook College, Ottawa University, Metropolitan Community College, University of Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas State University, and Pittsburgh State University.
And this might be somewhat old data. The last time I talked with our representative, more than 75 schools had partnered with this, and he that day had, you want to read 75 days? That day he had 5 more colleges and universities signing their contracts with them. In essence, I like to say it's kind of like this. If we were to send 17 and 18-year-olds out on an Easter egg hunt, they know where to go find them, but they'd have to walk there and go find all of them and put them in their basket and bring them back. This puts all the eggs in the basket, sets it on the table in front of the student, and we say, open them all up and compare them, put them side by side, and see which ones you'd like to pursue.
Today, we talked to the representative, and one of the things I liked about it was the kids would opt in with their school email. So they don't take Gmail or Yahoo or whatever. They have to opt in with the school. So when the school signs up, we give them the email where it's like joesmith.stu@joplinschools.org, wherever the kid's name is. And then that's how they know to be part of the system. So I like that part about it. We're working on the agreement with them. So what we would like to do is bring the actual agreement next board meeting in November. We're really close on the finalizing the agreement, but we wanted to get Jennifer here out ahead of it and explain it to you and the community. And it's really an excellent opportunity for kids to kind of to show them what's in the area, the colleges, and they keep expanding their colleges and universities and their schools to this opportunity.
I noticed 2 local schools that were not included. Is that on the school to contact with you, or you to contact the school? If Missouri Southern wasn't there, Crowder wasn't there, those 2, is that?
He's a businessman.
Okay.
So he is, I know that he is contacting these local schools saying, Pittsburgh, we just got Pittsburgh State last week.
Okay.
And so I know that's
It may be
what his initiative is.
on the horizon.
Yes.
So are you asking us to approve this? Are you asking us to table it? It says we're going to take action on it.
Yes, I think what we probably want to do is table it after we talk today a little bit. But I think moving forward, it's something definitely the board needs to think very seriously about approving.
Well, I think this is something that we see beneficial to our students and something that we want to provide, and we'll come back to the board with that. I had raised some questions and taken it as legal as far as the MOU that Carrie and I want to straighten out before we proceed.
I completely agree. I think it's a great program. It allows students to have a one-stop shop. As we know, our high schoolers have a pretty short attention span, don't they?
Our biggest hope is that this would catch a kid who hadn't considered it.
Correct. And this gives them an opportunity to have that information in one central location. So that's great news.
So Justin, I agree with you. I mean, that MOU should be pretty short. If it gets into multiple pages of legalese, I'm not sure where that's going. This is very straightforward. It should be very short, like a page or 2, right?
The issue is disclosures of protected information from students like FERPA.
Yeah, okay. And then Can you speak just for a moment or two on how do you market it to kids? Because I'm with Riley, like that attention span thing is many times. So how do you get this in front of them so they can take advantage of it?
Click this button to opt in, and that's it.
How are we going to get the message out? Like, that's what I'm asking.
Right, right. The first thing that comes to my mind is to perhaps gather the class in the senior class and probably the junior class in groups of 50 or 100 and give this presentation and show them what the end of it looks like. This is where someone's doing all the work for you. All you have to do is opt in. We send the information. And here's what you might get in response. You might get a document that says you could get $15,000 from this school, you could get $30,000 for this school. And the way they're going to want us to market it is if you added all those amounts together, here's how much money you're worth. And so I think unfortunately, the market we'll take the effort out of it for you. Someone's done all the work for you. And this is just something that you have to take advantage of, or you have the opportunity to take advantage of, and it simplifies it for them.
And I think there's a whole campaign to help support what she's doing one-on-one that Sarah Coyne and I talked about as well, and get information out to the parents. There's multiple methods, and we'll work with the high school to do a real strong campaign on that.
Yeah, and it would seem from a legal perspective, Justin, that the parents would have to sign off on releasing the information to begin with before you could step into an MOU as a district, right?
That's my question that we're addressing.
Well, I think if for the school to be involved, definitely the parents have to sign off. For what we're hearing from all the other schools, in fact, I believe North Kansas City was taking it to their board tonight too, and they have 5 high schools, is that the student opt-in version is for the students to opt in and give their own information if they so choose. But we would not be involved, they just would know about it from us. But if the school's involved anymore other than the knowledge base, then the parents have to sign off and say, yes, it's okay to give John his ACT and GPA and all that stuff. Yes, we're not giving anything out about that kid to the organization without the parent. That will be part of it.
John, we've sent it to legal review for them to review the statute and give us suggestions.
Yeah.
And there's about 3 different ways that we could go, and we'll pilot for those.
Okay, very
So
good.
do we need to formally table this, or do we just leave it as is?
Take no action.
Yeah.
Just
Take no action, then we'll bring it to the next meeting.
We'll bring it to the next meeting, it might be on consent agenda, but we'll have ironed it all out by then.
I had a couple questions. Sometimes when students see scholarships, they choose the school that gives them the most. And you said something I caught, I think that the cost for the school is included. Do we have anything that helps our students prepare for college, particularly maybe first generation? I know as an accounting teacher, I'm hoping that they look at the net, not the scholarship offer. And then also our dual credit program provides a great service at an affordable price for our students to pick up several hours. Is there something in our high school where we educate our students on how to read scholarship offers and dual credit and all of that?
Yes.
Good.
Upward Bound and Talent Search and the TRIO programs out of Missouri Southern have partnered with us and create such a wonderful connection with students, especially first generation college students. And counselors meet with seniors one at a time in the fall to check on where they are in this process. And then as that information starts to come back at them, we are more than happy to meet with them one-on-one as they go through that process and give any guidance that we need to see them through what is unfamiliar to them and their family.
Okay. I know I've seen colleges offer larger scholarships, but then their tuition is 2 or 3 times more. And a student will go up there for a year and come back with quite a bit in debt. And I think if we can help people prepare to keep debt low and have a degree that you can get a job with, we're servicing our students well.
Right. That is not the most popular point that I bring up with kids, but it's one that I never miss. You need to consider how far away from home you might want to go. You need to consider what you want to study, and then you need to consider what's available to you. And there's a dollar sign attached to that every time. You do have to consider, can I and can my family afford this? We don't ever bypass that.
Well, I think to build off what David said, what's nice about, I should say, that's encouraging to me is that you do have a lot of regional institutions there. You have Northwest Missouri State, Pittsburgh State, Emporia State, Fort Hays, places that students can get a quality, affordable education that will be effective for them. So it's not saying, oh, we're going to give you a list of schools in far off places, and this is an advertising tool for those particular schools. It's partnering, it's more regional, being based out of Kansas City. And for me, I think that's important.
And is personal finance, is that a requirement or is that an elective? The senior year?
As a course in high school?
Yes.
It's a graduation requirement by the state of Missouri that
So
students can take in their junior or their
That
senior year.
does have a section of college financing that it is a requirement. Having 3 that just graduated, I remember them going through that, and they actually even taught the Dave Ramsey class. I mean, which was, not to throw names around, but it was nice that they were talking language that we could talk about at home too.
There are also lessons in the senior transitions course and the junior transitions course entitled Can I Afford College? They talk about the mathematics involved in tuition and income.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll bring it back. Thank you. All right, next up, we'll go to the accounts payable.
Okay, the bill list tonight is $4,971,317.70. And compared to a year ago at this time, it was $7,269,512. The major difference there is this period did not include any monthly payroll expenses, where last year we had the monthly payroll and plus a larger cross-loan payment. So.
Make a motion to approve paying our bills as presented by Ms. Pott.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Donnie. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, one more time.
Okay. We have the budget adjustments tonight, and every year we usually try to present at least 3 different times budget adjustments, and that's just due to as we get newer grants or different things that happen throughout the year, we just try to keep everything up to date so that you can see what all is going on in the financials. And also is the case every year, the initial budget is prepared prior to the tax levy setting. This year, although the rate stayed at $3.66 per 100 of assessed valuation, we did move the funds around and move 16 cents from the debt service over to the general operating fund. And so with that change in allocation and the increase in assessed valuation of $61,553,000, it increased our estimated income of $2.2 million into our funds this year. So this budget adjustment that we're bringing tonight reflects this change, as well as the change between the general and the debt service funds. And I'm going to talk first about the revenue changes. We had approximately $1 million that have come in with new grants. Some of those are the enhancement grant, the Lemons grant, a workforce development grant, American Rescue Plan, homeless children and youth grant, the Afghan Refugee School Impact Grant, an Early Childhood Grant, Emergency Connectivity Fund Grant, and then the McKinley DNR Grant. And last year, we had a couple of grants that we had expensed the funds last year, but we didn't receive payment of those until this fiscal year, and those amounted to $248,312. And then we're also anticipating about $150,000 of additional interest income, which we discussed earlier. So all of those are in this revenue changes. Our expenditure adjustments, a lot of it has to do, again, with the grants. The expenditure side on the grants was $1,114,366, and that change between the revenue and expenditures is because of some of the grants with the Franklin Tech are either a 50-50 grant where we have to local match it, or 75-25. So we have some local match there that we have to do for those grants. And also the Crowder contracts that were previously approved by the board is increase of expenditures of $1.4 million. And that most of those will be high needs funds, or I think all of it should be high needs funds that we will get reimbursed for next year. But there'll be that year that we have to pay for it this year and then get reimbursed next year. And then likewise, we had a couple of expenditures that have been approved last year, but they didn't get completed until this year. So we have those expenses that will, I have to increase the expenses for this year. The Tyler Drive system for the buses has not been completely installed. It's $155,000, almost $156,000. We had the last quarter of the safe driving incentive of $11,000, and then crack monitoring for the Columbia and McKinley schools. They did not bill us at all last year. We are on a cash basis, so that we got billed just recently for that amount for all last year, and then we'll also be hitting hopefully this year on a timely manner. Technology budgets was increased for the cybersecurity contract and also for some additional capital outlay. We did mention that connectivity grant that we received $481,000 that basically paid for our Chromebook refresh this year that we are getting completely reimbursed for, which is very nice. And we're going to use some of those funds for teacher refresh on their laptop. So overall, our total revenue adjustments were $3,779,704, and the recommended expenditure adjustments were $3,383,199. So we have a net revenue increase of $396,505. If you'll look at the page 4, shows our revised revenue and expenditures, basically our balance sheet. The top section is where our fund balances are, and these are unaudited, but I think they'll be very close to these numbers. So we have a total fund balance of $91,010,588. The middle section shows our revenues, anticipated revenues and expenditures. Revenues $106,361,089. Projected expenditures of $128,875,202, which then gives us projected fund balances of $68,496,475, and unrestricted is $66,609,029. One thing I did increase this time compared to when we did the initial budget was making full maximum transfer to the debt service or to the capital projects fund. And also we're placing like all the M&M revenue and the maximum amount of classroom trust fund, which is like $2.5 million, will be placed into the capital projects fund, which gives us a pretty healthy balance in the capital projects funds to do any major things that would need to be taken care of in the next few years. So with this, our liquidity is estimated to be about 41.8% at the end of the year. Are there any questions?
With that overall liquidity number, that's pretty healthy for a school district.
Yes.
I mean, we got to be saying your top on that.
It is, but most of that is with the all the ESSER funds. And I just kind of sat through a webinar today, and that is pretty common around the state where we're using our ESSER funds to offset some salaries, kind of preparing for that down the road. We know, if based on the formula right now, next year we'll have to probably go back and use our ADA that we have. We're not going to be able to go back to 1920 like we have been, and that could be a $2 million reduction from the state formula in the next year that we're probably going to be looking at. So that will help us kind of bridge that gap as we go out.
But that's not for sure. That's a maybe, right?
Today, I heard that DESE said last week that they would not reinstate the going back to 1920. So that's.
Send your kids to school.
Yes. And we thought it was going to happen this year. I mean, actually, last year they were saying it was going to happen this year, and they said that DESE said, do not expect that again. But this will be it. So.
I think they're flagging, they're seeing what we're all seeing.
Right.
So
and
everything we're in a good position to be prepared for that.
Right. And everything we're seeing is as the income over the state is really slowing down from what it has been. And James Moody's been saying, that time is coming. Be prepared.
And so we've been very cautious not to make any long-term commitments with one-time funding.
Right.
So we're in a good spot. And it's like the Crowder behavior, we would normally have to fund that ourselves.
Right.
Now we can basically use 1 year, see if they can use that next year to fund that one
Right.
and be on par with it.
Make a motion, we approve the budget adjustment.
Second?
Motion by Dave, second by Donnie. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay, last up, buses and deltas.
I would just call it a plus for Ms. Pagan with the 2022 Regional Teacher of the Year. I think that again speaks to the wonderful teachers we have in our district, and I just love to call that out. And also the fact that Dover Hill is going to be done on time and on budget. So I think those are pluses.
And John, I'd agree with you. I think in HR, what I love to see is when we have those success stories. But Julie began, I believe, as a parent in our district and worked up to become a teacher and then regional teacher of the year. And so we have a lot of paras right now that are in that process of seeking certification. And there's money out there to fund that. There's special programs. And so we rely a lot on paras when we find that they're good with kids and seeing them want to move on to certification. And so I think it's wonderful for our own paras to see an example of that in-house. And what more do we want than Desi saying, grow your own? It's a perfect example of that.
And then I second that, and also that grow your own that we've got. It's not just in the education piece, right? Carrie came from inside, Matt came from inside. We also, in our special ed department, we've basically got a grow your own in almost every area. We'll take bus drivers, we'll do it all. So it's a very
Justin
positive.
Henson, our Director of Transportation, started at the bottom and came all the way through every step. And so we have those instances all across the district. You're
Like
correct.
we need to highlight those more, but
Absolutely.
I think it's great to hear from Laurel Heights, what
yeah,
they're doing over there, the successes they're having.
fantastic.
Motion to adjourn.
One last plus. Want to hats off to Dr. Saketa and the group that started and have put a lot of hours into the Hall of Fame. It was an excellent event that we had last week. I think that really shows and anchors our community as a whole. You know, it allows for us to really show and showcase how the school district is the nexus of what the community should be about, and that's a great rallying point for us. So to the individuals who were inducted, very, very impressive people. I marvel at what they've done and their contributions to society as a whole. And they've done a great job at home here in Joplin. Some of them have made great contributions here in Joplin and then across the country as well. So my hat's off to all those people and fellow graduates of Joplin schools.
Very good. And it is National Principals Month, so thank you to all of our principals. We're going to see them tomorrow, and our directors. I appreciate their work every day, and all well said, gentlemen.
John, I think you had something to say.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by John, second by everybody. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, we're adjourned.
Very good. All right. See you later. Don't freeze. Score.